I'm going to show you, like on that initial video I showed you, I had some red patterns, which is what I've just drawn. Then I had some yellow patterns, and then I had some blue, dark blue patterns in that video. And I know those are kind of hard to see, those dark blue lines, but I'll show you how I would make this into those patterns. So let's just take like a new pattern here. I'm gonna extract one of these quarter patterns here that I just drew. Like I'm gonna extract this one, and I'm gonna take its center line. I always take center lines. I like to have like a reference point. So, and there it is. There's my pattern. So let's say I want to make this into like that blue pattern from that last video, which would be like have a weld seam right here from E to 4, and from like 10 to the no named point over here. It's like I'm going to make like a half a pattern, a two-piece pattern out of this thing, I guess. So to do that, if I just kind of look at my top view and make some sense out of where maybe how I need to modify that is, yeah, you might see me that from this point on, if I just need to like snap a new, I need like to do that, I need to kind of, well, you know, I just want to go from E to 4 all the way around over to there. So however I do that is fine. Like I can almost reference, like if I'm going to do that, that I can also put a seam from 1 to the no named number, or the no named part down here, and from 7 to the no named part way up here between D and C. If I think of that, let's think of that maybe as the best like half pattern to look at. So maybe I'm going to put a weld seam right there where this center line is. Okay, so what that encompasses is I've already got the pattern from 2.5 to 5.5, and from B to C. Like I've already got that. That's what's over there. All I need to add to it is from 5.5 and C over to halfway point here and 7. So essentially, I kind of need to add just a little bit of pattern to that, and all I need to do that is, I think, just add half of this pattern, you know, like almost just trace this half of this and kind of snap it over there. So what do I got over here? I've got a couple of line segments. I was just looking to see how that's manipulated. Okay, so yeah, let's just do that. I guess there's any number of ways I could divide this. If I break that up, if I explode this, I'm not sure how that's going to end up. So maybe you just see me like retrace this, and maybe I'll just trace it with a white so that I can kind of see what I'm going to do. But I'm going to trace this, and maybe I'm going to like arc and second point. I'm going to go here to here, and then I'm going to do a line to here and back to the middle point, and then I'm going to take this middle point here. So now if I kind of make sense of what I've just done, I've just kind of traced half that pattern. And if I think of that pattern that was over here in the top view as representing B to C and that, if I just took half that pattern, I just kind of went E to 4 is what I kind of drew across the middle, and then I picked up kind of like from 4 to 5 and 5 to 5.5. And that makes sense because now what I need is kind of just like a half from 5.5 to 6 and then back to 7. So the round part I took on top that I traced over here represents about what I need to make up the difference from, or it is exactly what I need to make up the difference from 5.5 to 7 on top. So what I can do is, now that I've traced that, is just kind of like flop that over on itself. So, you know, it's almost like I want to like mirror this, I think. Mirror this thing from maybe like a base point. Like that. Don't want to erase the source object. I want that to stay there like that. Yeah. So now that puts, you know, I kind of traced E to 4 right here, which was my center line. And now that I flopped that over, and this became kind of like, to me, it becomes 0.7 to a no-named point here. Kind of like the outside edge of that pattern represents right here, 7 to this no-named point, just by flopping that over on itself. So I kind of think that's pretty cool. And maybe I could mirror that again, because I need to add it down here too to make this half pattern. So I'm just going to mirror this thing, and maybe I'll just like go over on itself. I'm not going to erase the source object, and then maybe I'll just like move this part off of it by like right here. Yeah, actually I want to. Now that I actually mirrored that kind of wrong, I want to mirror it one more time. I could have done that better, but I'm going to mirror this by here and flop this over on itself. This point here. And then, oh, I didn't keep it. I always do this with my mirror. I'm going to mirror that by this point here. Don't want to erase the source object. Cool. So now when I actually like just kind of delete these, that becomes my, and I might just delete this one so we can see. That was my existing pattern underneath. I just kind of mirrored it in halves and folded it over on itself. So yeah, I'm just going to break all this. I'm going to step break all these round, and I'll kind of discuss how I would do that real quick. So this becomes, I don't know, if I thought like I'm making, this becomes kind of the pattern from the last video that I had maybe as a dark blue pattern. It's like half a pattern. I would need that. I would need 2 of those to get all the way around this. What that covers is half. You know, I've got like from B to C here up to 0.4. It goes all the way over to 0.7 and all the way over to 0.1 on top. And these points kind of are half of, yeah, they're like a 4-inch straight line over here and a 4-inch straight line. So I've totally just gone from this point that doesn't have a name down here, 6 o'clock in this view, around over to here and up to C and back over to this no name point here. So I've just kind of done like half a pattern. And what else do I want to say about it? Yeah, how I would actually press break something like this in the press break is this thing has to turn 90 down here, and this has to go around. So I kind of like work from over here, and maybe I would mark this in like 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch increments all the way around this. I pull like a flexible tape to mark all these out at 1/2 inch increments. Funny thing is, I'm going to pull like everything from kind of like, I'm going to be step breaking, I don't know, like, I wonder if I could almost like kind of mock how I would break this, but I don't think I'll have any lines. I won't have any node points. I don't know. How could I think about this? But what is this? Kind of thinking like if I take this and if I do like a polyline arc and second point, you might see me like just draw in. That's kind of what it's going to represent. Just a nice round arc here on top. I just kind of retrace this arc. Maybe I'm going to divide this by, I don't even know how long this is. Like maybe if I select it and pick up the properties, maybe it shows me about how long it is. Yeah, I don't know. What does it tell me dimension-wise here? Hang on, let me like do an arc dimension maybe. Arc length. Oh, there we go. I like that. I'm going to dimension this arc length. All I'm trying to do is like, I'm going to divide this by, you know, I'm going to divide this into, I'm going to actually do some node points on this and divide it and kind of show you my break lines on something like this, so that if I were to do it. This is 6.2. Just under 1/4 inch. So I might just divide this by 12. That'll be just a little bit over 1/2 inch increments. So I just did a calculation on there real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. I'm going to divide this, the line I drew here, by 12. That doesn't relate anything to the 12 I just did. I've divided that. I'm just kind of doing close to half-inch increments. They'll be just slightly over. So now this has like node points on it that I'm gonna be able to like snap a line here to show you how this gets broke up in a break. So I'd actually, from this point out, I would snap a break line there, and then I would bring all of these. I'm gonna escape there and like pick up a new line. And there should be. I'm just going along here and picking up node points. I don't know where they all are, but here's one. It would break back to this point, and then essentially I'm back to this point, which obviously will break to that point, and then I pick up these next node points here. You don't have to do this, by the way. I'm just doing this to show you what the break work looks like to do this in the press break, which we should press break it squared around because it is interesting to see this. And then there's one last little point here that goes back to here. So each one of these white lines plus this blue line become actual break lines where I hit this. If I was to, and so what it is I step break all of these and I try to get them to be like a 4-inch. Yeah, we had a 4-inch diameter on top. I want it to be like a 4-inch diameter on top, and then I want to turn this 90 degrees. So with all these break lines coming to be the right diameter for my round, I also want this thing to turn 90 degrees when it sits upright, and it's kind of like when it sits upright like this, I want that bottom corner to turn 90 degrees for me. So that becomes kind of tricky, and I'll even show you. Yeah, I'll just kind of repeat this because these points go back the exact same way. It's like I'm looking for these nodes here. These are all break lines. Break work becomes, these spacings that I did are just kind of arbitrary too. Like I picked a 1/2-inch increment roughly, and the closer my press break lines are when I'm doing something round together, the more truly round my part becomes. If I'm doing like 1-inch spacings right here, I get these big flat spots between my bends, which works on bigger round stuff. And a lot of this is factored into what, how many, like so this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 breaks. 7 times I got to hit it with the brake on each of these quadrants. So that's 14 press breaks to actually make this part. And maybe the part doesn't need to be that accurately round. Maybe 1/2-inch increments just being too accurate, too much brake work. Maybe I can be 1 inch is fine. And although I think that'd be kind of sloppy, but it'd be half the brakes to do that. So anyway, but those white lines represent how I would step break this. Bam, bam, bam. And this would kind of maintain this B to C would be nice and straight, and from this half pattern from this is like halfway from C to D there, and this is kind of halfway from back to A right here, but it's not quite A. It's like just meeting in the middle there. So yeah, I want to maintain those nice straight, and I just want to do all the brake work in the corners. And my original pattern that's red, this blue line would actually be a weld seam for me. I'd still do these same brake lines over on my red pattern. Like this is going to have brake lines back to here from that green line back to this corner. It's going to be step broke similar to what you're seeing going on here from this yellow line over to this part right here. It's all going to be step broke. So I'm going to have like 1, 2, 3, roughly like 3 brake lines on each side of my pattern there. Yeah. The only difference is on this pattern, I don't have to worry about turning 90 degrees on one side. I just have a couple more weld seams. So that was just a little bonus work. You don't have to do that. All I really want you to extract is kind of maybe extract that little quadrant pattern from this, and then understand that I can manipulate that to make other patterns. So that's going to be the end of my video right now. So we'll catch you when we do a rectangle round.